Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Petty Officer Sarah Newman. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Lawrence Hawken. Born Lawrence Henry Manuel Hawken in 1922, Lawrence Hawken was the son of Stanley and Violet Hawken of Coonbrook, Victoria. He was educated at Colfern State School and was an active member of the Methodist Church and the local People's Young Guild. As a young boy, he was a member of the Young Farmers Club and showed an interest in raising pigs. He was a keen sportsman, playing football with the Coonbrook Juniors and was a member of the Barham Lawn Tennis Club. After completing his education, Lawrence moved to Melbourne, where he worked as a labourer. Lawrence Hawken enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force in April 1940. He was not quite 18 at the time, but put his age up to 22 in order to make sure he was accepted. He began infantry training in Melbourne and in September 1940 was posted to reinforcements to the 2nd of the 8th Battalion. He left Australia that month for active service overseas, joining his battalion in Palestine in October 1940. Private Hawken first saw action in Bardia in early January 1941, when his battalion had a minor role to play in the fighting. Less than 3 weeks later, the 2nd of the 8th Battalion was again called to action during the Battle for Tobruk. It was called on to an attack a strong point build around a line of dug-in tanks, and as a result, the heaviest casualties of any Australian unit during the operation. One of those killed was Private Lawrence Hawken. Little is known of the manner of his death. His body was recovered from the battlefield and today is buried in Knightsbridge War Cemetery in Okram in Libya. His gravestone bears the words, "Our dearly loved son and brother, till we meet again." He was just 19 years old. His name is listed on the roll of honour to my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. But this is just one of many stories of the service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Lawrence Hawken, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.